Hello, this is Reese again. I wanted to talk about a little project I made for the week 11 discussion regarding the combinatory power of JSON and PowerShell in a cybersecurity context. So let's say we have a directory here and it's got some critical files in it. These can be scripts, programs, anything. And it's got awesome stuff in there. It's got totally innocent file content. Yeah, cool stuff. Okay, and so you want to keep this secure, and you want to make sure that it doesn't get messed with. So let's launch this program that I'm calling the hash checker. So first we give it the directory that we want it to generate the hash table of. We select A to make a hash table, and we have it making a hash table and saving it to my desktop. Okay, let's take a look at it. Here's the hash table. So here we've got a full JSON file with 3 items that correspond to the 3 objects in the directory, and they each have 3 parts: the algorithm, the hash, and the path. Okay, ideally, you would save this hash table somewhere and keep it safe. Okay, so let's look at that first part of the program. It's going to start here by making a variable based on your input, in this case the directory. Ideally you would check to make sure that it's a valid directory, but I didn't do that. And then gives you the choice between A or B, and if the answer is A, then we go down here. Now what we start off with is we want to get all the items in the directory that you gave. So we're going to call that stuff get child item. This is a built-in commandlet that gives you an object that's all the contents of whatever directory, and it turns it into an iterable object. Now we're going to make an empty hash array here, and then we're going to have a loop for each file and stuff. Now file here is a temporary variable. It's arbitrary. You can name it whatever you want, and it's named just right here in stuff, which is this object that has all of the contents of the directory we fed it. We're going to make a variable that concatenates the directory with the file, with a backslash in the middle. Now this variable is called mad because I was getting frustrated because it took me a very long time to figure this out. But when you run get file hash, it's going to run from the directory that you run the program from, which in this case is C Windows, so I was getting some errors there. But we're going to have a variable, and since we use get file hash on this this concatenated directory, that includes the file name, so that's going to give us a PowerShell object that has the 3 aspects to it: the algorithm, the hash, and the path. And that's going to become the variable. And then we're going to add that onto the hash array. We're going to toss that into the array. Okay, and we're going to do that since it's a loop for each file and stuff. It's going to do that with every file in the directory that you gave it. Then we make a new directory that I just made static over here, and then we're going to take this hash array, which started off empty, and as the loop increments one after the other, gets these file hash objects stacked in there. We're going to convert that whole thing to JSON. What's interesting and great about convert to JSON in PowerShell is you can do it with like anything. Like I could do get item and then the file and then convert it to JSON, and it'll just give you a massive JSON file. And then we're going to print it out to the new directory that we made up here. And then we're going to say, okay, it got saved to here. And that's what that was. Okay, so we've got our hash table, and we've got it somewhere secure, like the desktop. No one's ever going to look there. But say I'm a malicious actor, and I come in here and I see all this stuff, and I want to trick you, you know. So I come in here and I'm like, oh, okay, this is important. Okay, and I write, you know, some nasty code in here into one of your source files or something. So I injected some nasty code into that file. Okay, well, if you ever suspect that one of your things has been messed with, you know, because we saved that hash table in JSON format, now we can come in and we can say, oh, I want to check that directory again. But instead of making a hash table, we're going to check the hashes. And then we feed it the file path to the hash table, which is hashtable.json. And it'll tell us the following files have been tampered with. Cool beans has been tampered with. Oh man. Okay, well, why is this? Well, you know, I'm going to show you in the code right here. Okay. So in this case, if it equals b, you know, this is the variable that is the hash table, that the file path that it makes it, you tell it. Okay, and then we're going to use get content. Now this takes, you know, whatever you feed it, and it basically has it as like a giant string. Okay, but with a string we don't get the benefits of it being JSON, which is like the nested structure, the key pair values, the attributes that we can isolate and turn into variables and stuff. So not only do we need to use get content, but we have to make another variable that pipes this variable into this commandlet, which is convert from JSON. Up here we had convert to JSON. Now we're converting it from JSON. So now this variable, which is called JSON, becomes a PowerShell object. Okay, we're gonna see how that's useful here in a minute. We're going to make another empty array. A lot of this is going on like the first section did. We're going to have a temporary variable. You'll see where that comes into play here in a minute. We're going to do the stuff again, which is, you know, we're going to take the files that are in the directory that you gave it at the start of the program. We're going to do another loop just like before, where we go over each item in that directory. We're going to do this again, where we do that, and then we're going to get the file hash of it. We're going to have that object sitting there. And then what we do, once we have that, we're going to run another loop. And this loop is going to be iterating over every section of the hash table JSON file that we made. And it's going to compare the hashes. Now, if all's well and good, if you compare every hash in the table to every single object in the directory, then one of them should match. You know, and if one of them matches, then we set the temporary value to 1 and we're going to break it, because we don't need to be in the loop anymore if they matched. If you go through every aspect of the JSON file and none of them match, well, that only means one of two things. Either it was changed or some other file was added in. Okay, so in that case, the temporary would never have been changed to 1, it would have stayed 0. So if it equals 0 after all this is done, then we're going to add the file hash.path to the bad array, the empty array that we made over here. Now you notice I got .hash. Okay, because we took a JSON file, remember the JSON file has 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. Each section has 3 attributes, or 3 key value pairs. This one, the key is algorithm, hash, and path. So when we convert that from JSON back into a PowerShell object, it maintains that structure, which makes it iterable. On the grand scale, you can iterate each one of these 3 as its own iterable, and then each one can be designated by just one or more of these keys. Okay, so in this instance we're comparing just the hash, and then in this instance we're concatenating just the path into the array. And then you know, well, if the temp was changed to 1, we're going to change it back to 0 so that we can go over the loop again. Now this is a double loop. So it does a loop, it goes to one object, and then on every object it does a whole other loop that loops over everything. So, and then if anything got smacked onto the bad array, we're going to write it out here, and then you will know, oh, it's been messed with. Now to show another aspect, let's go back and, okay, well I know the cool beans got messed with. Let me erase that and do that. But then your malicious actor comes in and he puts a new malicious file in this directory. And this directory could be thousands of objects. Those do exist. So you're not going to be able to just know just by looking at it, oh, something's different. So in that case, you could run this again and check the hash tables, feed it the JSON file we made at the start, and it'll tell us that the malicious file has been added in. And so that's the basic program. It kind of shows some of the functionality and usefulness of being able to convert stuff to JSON and convert stuff from JSON. That'll be all for today, and thank y'all. Have a good day.